funny.
That's not true. You're funny.
That's not true, no.
You're funny. Come on, you're
No.
funny.
I'm
You
hilarious.
Welcome back, everybody, to Double Dip Draft Season 7. We are in Week 5 of the Violet Division recap. As always, I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me today...
White Loaf, coach of the Loafville Lanterns.
And aren't you just so excited to see what happens in this division in this week?
I'm super excited. Definitely haven't seen any of these matches before this recording.
Yeah, the Week 5 definitely didn't happen like over 2 weeks ago.
Doing this blind.
Doing this blind. Yeah, I mean, going into this, what's the deal? You know, IDM undefeated, who's surprised?
Yep.
Claire has... Actually, oh wait, this is... the fucking differentials are all over the place, I forgot.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, Claire with a 12 differential, which is higher than IDM's, despite IDM being undefeated, and then the diff just falls off hard, except randomly Milo has, like, way more diff than everyone above and below him. I don't know. Goofy division. I would say that Milo is currently postured to potentially take the 4th playoff spot, even though he's currently in 6th as of going into this week, as of Week 4's standings. So I would keep an eye on that, but otherwise, I mean, you know, the powers that be will determine how that goes.
Yes, the powers that be each other's brains.
Yeah, why don't you tell me whose brains we got first?
So our first set of brains is Cabral095, coach of, oh god, Slinging Aegislashers. Keep forgetting that they changed their names.
Mm-hmm.
And then Claire117 of Maryland Manectrics.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vibe in this video has been weird so far. I apologize for that. Continue.
I mean, looking at team preview, you know, Cabral, he's got, you know, Gliscor is always a problem, but this is going to be kind of a weird match because I don't think Gliscor really does a lot to a lot of Claire's team in a weird way. I don't know, it's very weird because even though like it can take Thunderous on like a Thunderbolt, if Thunderous decides to click like basically any other button and it specs, then it's a problem.
Yeah, but you also need Gliscor to prevent it from clicking a free Specs or Scarf Volt switch every time it comes in.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not like, oh, I don't want to switch the Gliscor in right now, I don't want to risk taking, like, I don't know, a Grass Knot or a Dark Bolt or whatever, like, you at least need to threaten Claire that you could stuff a choice set that tries to lock into an electric move. Because, I mean, otherwise, he's got no ground types. And he's got, you know, definitely, like, into Diancie, into Zapdos especially. You know, it would be good to pester those things with Volt switches.
Yeah. And having U-turn for, you know, an occasional live Wo-Chin reaction is also very nice to have.
True.
And
I mean, like,
the rest
into
of
Registeel too. It can you know, keep up with like an Iron Defense set with Swords Dance.
Yeah. The rest of the team also looking quite solid. You know, Galarian, Zapdos, Diancie, Leavanny has actually been putting in some surprising amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
Both as a sticky web setter, but also just kind of as like a late game sweeper sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at this team, you know, Webs has limited utility. I mean, obviously, the big speedy one is Thunderous, which is not grounded, so it doesn't matter. Clear Body Registeel prevents Webs from activating. But, you know, like, firstly, into Mew is really, really helpful. Any of those, like, base 100s, you know, especially Mew is speed-tying Zapdos, so, like, if you can get Webs up, then even if it's Scarf, maybe you can force it to speed tie and non-Scarf Zapdos if that's what you have, or your own Scarf Zapdos will always outrun it, so that's really important. And you know, like Wo-Chin even, like into some of those sort of mid-slow Pokemon, like, you know, defensive Electros, right, or Overquill, or even Diancie, you know, those can get faster than Wo-Chin, and that can be really helpful for pressuring it.
Alongside that, Claire does also have that Smeargle chilling on the back, which is a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Now, something that we've noticed as we've been watching these replays is Claire does have a habit of kind of bringing very similar sets, not necessarily the exact same, obviously, but all in all, they usually wind up doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And that is something that, aside from, I think you said Aurora earlier, no one else has really taken advantage of that yet.
That's true. And I'm, if I remember correctly, I believe that Claire fought Aurora week 1, so it wasn't even necessarily that Aurora had adapted to the strategy much as Don Dozo just completely blanked it from the get-go.
Oh, then yeah, that doesn't even count.
But yeah, I mean, I would say that, like, Claire, the I will set up in your face, try and stop me strat has worked into everyone so far. So, we'll see if Cabral can stop that from happening.
Yep. Comedy.
Yep. Kelder shows up with a hard press, which is a brand new DLC move, and the Babiri Berry saves it from dying.
Yep.
So,
I will be honest, until this match, I did forget that hard press existed.
It's not that good. I like that acid spray too. Also, I like that.
Yeah, no, some funky moves that you don't usually see, but very good moves. Do like trying to bring out the Gliscor to try and prevent a Volt Switch, but unfortunately does get Dark Pulsed and a lot of chip from that.
Yeah, it was a pretty reckless play. That didn't need to be made so early. Like, you could, since that thing revealed it wasn't boots, and then obviously if you calc the damage, it was also specs. Like, you just need to position in a way that forces it to switch in 4 times, right? If you acid spraying that thing, if it dark pulls you, like, you'll live one of those, and you'll hit it for another acid spray for a shitload of damage, and you'll be fine. Yeah. But did not pan out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah. Waterfall is a bit of an interesting move, looking at the team and like seeing that Registeel is now Terra Flying. I don't really know the reason for it, but more importantly, good switch out on Levani, and Lunge is such a good move here.
Love that. It was a Scarf Levani, actually, which that was what got knocked off.
Yeah.
Cabral opts to go for another Lunge, drops its attack, but then he goes for another Lunge? I think maybe he thought that Claire would switch out, or just wasn't anticipating the Ice Punch. Still, I think he's playing very fast and loose this game. I'm really unsure about, his approach.
Yeah.
Sunny Sunderson comes back in, and that Scarf Levani would be threatening to this, but now he has to switch this in, and Thunderbolt to 38! Yeah. But Claire knows that she is Specs, so she switches out, predicting the Gliscor to switch in, which Cabral does correctly do. And now Cabral triples back out into Electros, I don't know why.
I will say at that point, like, there's no reason to not click U-turn.
Yeah, that was strange.
It's kind of just like a free move, like, worst comes to worst, like, Claire switches, and then you just get momentum, or, she doesn't switch, and you've just killed this thing.
Yeah. The Trailblaze is very interesting. Cabral has loved that move a lot. Unfortunately, we've seen very limited success from it. It does make you a bit passive, in my experience.
Yeah. And out here, there's just no reason to not click Dark Pulse.
You have to play that 50-50 because Overcool's at full, and it eats Dark Pulse no problem. So, like, you only get one more move to lock into. Claire correctly predicts that he will go into the Gliscor, hoping for, like, the Thunderbolt, and not pan out.
Yeah.
Now, when we were talking about repeated sets, this is one of those.
Yeah. Running a Burning Bulwark. For those of you who don't know, Smeargle can kind of just copy basically whatever move is in existence and just have it for itself. So it can very easily get Burning Bulwark, it can get Mortal Spin like it showed earlier, it can get Stone Axe, have whatever it wants.
Yep. And Burning Bulwark, if you're not familiar, is Gouging Fire's signature move. It is a semi-protect that if they make contact with you, similarly to Baneful Bunker's Poison, it burns you.
Yep.
That is what happened with Overquill. Now, again, you can't live your life in fear, but, you should be ready for something like that.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, what do you think the fourth move is? Because I don't know if we've actually seen it.
What, on Smeargle?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's probably going to be like Memento or something, like some other utility move.
That makes sense.
But that's all she wrote. Unfortunately, Cabral just playing way too passive at the end there. Forced to I mean, he just sat there clicking Waterfall, which was just not doing substantive damage into anything and not putting any pressure on anything. You know, the most he could hope to do is try to flinch Smeargle multiple times, and that obviously didn't happen. He got one, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Cabral would probably agree, looking back on this, that, like, he played it really fast and loose. You know, he was tired, he was busy, like, you know, yada yada, all the regular stuff that you don't, you know, you didn't prep or play as hot as you maybe wanted to. And it's a real bummer because, you know, I think Cabral, if he had his head in the game for this, if he had spent a little more time prepping and thought through his moves a little longer and maybe wasn't so tired, wasn't so busy, I mean, he brought that to a very winnable endgame, even, you know, down to the last few turns. If he had just switched out his Overquill sooner, would have been fine.
I agree.
So, very disappointing to see it end that way. Cabral, I think in most universes, beats Claire there. Just didn't end up working out that way. And if you're Claire, you're popping bottles because you're still only down one win. So we'll take it. Now, next up, we have got the other Cabral beater. We've got Milo versus Jason. That's Milo of the Canadian Cottonees versus Jason of the Hartford Honchkrows. Milo has been the one to watch. You know, has had really, really close sets into Aurora and into IDM. You know, should have frankly beaten IDM, but got some pretty bad luck at the end. So, you know, Milo's been hot. But, you know, besides the Cabral win, Milo hasn't actually beaten anybody else yet. And it's getting kind of late into the season. Like, you really need to start getting some actual wins, because you can bring it close versus the top level players, and that's great for your diff and all. But if you end the season 1-5 or 1-6 or whatever like that, you know, you're not getting the playoffs no matter how nice your diff is.
Yeah, and this is such an important match too, because if Milo does lose this match, there is very little, if any chance at all, they are going to make it into playoffs now.
Milo has some stuff left, and I would say, but I agree with you that this is a very important match because Jason is a similar playoffs contention spot. You know, his diff, not nearly as good as Milo's, but he is a win up, I believe, going into this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Let me go double check that. No, I was wrong. They're both 1-3.
Oh, they're both 1-3?
Yeah, they're both 1-3 going into this. So
I fucking could have swore he was 2-3. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
That's fine. I mean, well, you know.
It can't be 2-3.
Anyway, Jason fighting Milo. Jason also wanting to come back from this. I would say whoever loses this, while not literally definitely out, has a mountain to climb if they want to come back in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, from Team Preview, like, Kyurem beats like so many of these Pokemon is actually ridiculous. I feel like we keep saying that at every Team Preview. It's like, oh, Kyurem like rinses this whole team by itself.
Well, you know, Kyurem is a good Pokemon.
Again, yeah, people, you know, get so excited. Like, you know, it's hard not to get starry-eyed and pick like some funny new Gen 9 Uber, but Kyurem is like Kyurem, you know?
Yeah.
It's just good.
It's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT!
Yeah.
But obviously, King Gambit is a problem that actually, it looks pretty good into most of this team, not gonna lie, only Cobalion.
Yeah, as I
really
say,
is a good
new
system.
hotness is right over there. Like, you know, I'm looking at Kowtow Cleave, I'm looking at Milo's team, I'm thinking,
Yum,
that's
yeah.
kind of nice.
Again, like, Cobalion can be justified, so you could, like, you know, maybe take advantage of it by running, like, a silly physical Cobalion set, and, like, obviously it resists both stabs, so there's options, but, you know, really, like, you need some more specific counterplay to King Gambit.
I'm so... I was thinking Iron Crowns. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I click Kowtow Cleave, you crumple.
Oh, yeah, no, different Pokemon.
Yeah, different Pokemon, whoops.
I don't know. I mean, looking at this team, like, you know, Azelf has always been really good. Every single game, it's been putting in a ton of work for Jason. It looks fairly good into this team. Conversely, like, if King Gambit's out of the picture, Alolan Raichu kind of just cleans, right? Like, as long as, you know, you got Chip on Carbink, you got King Gambit out of the picture. But the problem with that is King Gambit is usually going to stay alive until the very end. So that's, you know, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, no, most likely not. But I think with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it. Arachnid lead into Carbink, just doink with a liquidation.
Big doink. Do love Arachnid. I think this is probably one of my favorite bugs from Alola.
Yeah. Arachnid is so good.
Yeah.
Milo has been really tunnel visioning this Endure Custap Berry thing like multiple weeks in a row now, and it's pretty telegraphed at this point.
Yeah. On one hand, like I definitely very much respect it, but it's not really necessary. And like even here, like it didn't kill.
Well, the thing is, if you had not clicked Endure there, because you didn't get knocked down to 1, you still lived that Thunderbolt with some HP left over. You could have gotten 2 liquidations and killed the Zapdos without even hinting that you had the Custap Berry, but. Because he kept spamming Endure into the Zapdos, it was pretty obvious that was what you were trying to do.
Also, goddamn, that Psychic did so much damage.
Why? What is that? What is Azo? What is this thing? Why is it doing that much damage? Okay.
The Psychic terrain is very interesting, especially when you're being swept by, probably Specs, I think, Azo? Heavy Scarf?
I don't know. It's probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, this, the Psychic terrain is counterplay for King Gambit, and Jason decides to just sack like a bunch of very low Pokemon to run out the Psychic terrain. If it was a terrain extender, then this still could have been able to do some work, but actually I don't even think it would have changed that much given that Kyurem still Earth powers into a not Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
And then Milo just unlocks his third eye for like 2 turns here because he misses this Will-O-Wisp, and you're like, oh, okay, he just loses. And then boom, he hits the Torch Song anyway on the read like Kata Cleave.
Let's go. Big Wisp on Toxapex, but unfortunately, big Toxic.
Yeah.
Hex will still do a pretty good chunk.
Yep.
But I think with the haze. Actually, wait, no, never mind, because. Yeah, I think Hex there actually was the play, because you would have killed Toxapex at the very least.
No, it was only doing 49 with the +1, so back at 0, you weren't going to kill it.
Yeah, but it was at 32 at that point.
I don't know.
It might have been a roll.
Calculate. I don't know. To me, yeah. I like just eyeballing it, I don't think that it would have killed. But here, it's over. Actually, this Toxtricity is Terra Ghost, and... uses its Terra Blast to great effect, and it is also faster than Skeledirge, who folds to 1 Terra Blast. And so despite how close this battle is, Milo's still not clinching a second win when he really, really needs one.
Nope, unfortunately, I think that does kind of solidifies Milo's fate. I think... No, because you need at least 4 wins to be able to qualify for playoffs.
No, that's not necessarily true. Especially even in this division where, the top 3 are kind of, naturally hogging all of the oxygen in the room. You could have, 4, maybe even 5 people wind up at, 3 and 4. And so, one of those people would still go into playoffs. So you don't even need 4 wins, but you need more than 1.
Yeah.
And, not looking great. And hey, take it from me, man. I've been in that position. It can be tough.
But it's not impossible.
No, not impossible. And it's still week 5. Your tip is still good. Your immediate opponents are still, they've got some hard matches left, and they only have 1, maybe 2 wins on you max. This is still very doable for Milo, but he really needs to stop having close games where he loses and start having close games where he wins.
Yeah. I think honestly, one of the biggest enemies of Milo right now is himself. He's getting a little too saucy with some of the sets, and don't get me wrong, when they work, they're fucking amazing. But when you keep kind of going for the same strategy, kind of like what Claire does, and people are paying at least a little bit of attention, they do know to prepare for it, especially with indoor test tap Arachnid. It can only work for so many matches.
Yeah. It's only going to take one person to pop a Mirror Urban when they're fighting Claire for the setup strat to die real fast, but no one's done it yet. And I think for Milo, Endure Custap Berry is great and all, but maybe your Arachnid would do better if it had leftovers, or a Life Orb, or a Lumberry, or a Mystic Water, or just something. Because these Endures are not getting you in range enough. It's worked before, but in this specific instance, if you're running these calcs, Arachnid's a especially bulky Pokemon. That thing is usually not going to die in one special hit, and if you're in front of Zapdos, you don't need to endure. You can just hit liquidation, live it on like 10%, and then you get your Custap Berry anyway, instead of wasting a turn enduring to not even get down to 1%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Milo, again, on the precipice. Like, the glow up from last season is real for Milo, but it just, as soon as you start, you raise yourself up above that echelon of like, oh, I'm just playing to like get my one win of the season, to, oh, I have a path to playoffs still by like week 4, week 5. You gotta hold yourself to a higher standard than that,
Yeah.
And Jason keeping his head above water another week. Very much wants that win, very much will take it. Wishes it was a bit less tight, but, a 1-0 win is we'll take it.
Yep. We take those.
We take those to the bank.
Yes, sir. Alright.
Transition. Yeah, your turn.
Transition. Up next is IDM 4, coach of the Brussels Espeons, versus GTP Woody, coach of the Schaumburg Salamences. I mean, this is sending the sheep to the lion. All right, let's call it as it is.
This is arguably, and I mean this with all due respect to you, Woody, this is the best player in the league versus the worst player in the league.
Yeah.
There is, I think, no possible larger skill gap you can see in a match, and it's here. It is here in front of you.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is rough.
Have you ever watched pork get fed into a meat grinder?
This is what this is like.
Have you ever, I don't know, you ever tried to dribble a deflated basketball and it just smacks into the ground and it doesn't move? And you think to yourself, man,
it makes like a weird, funny sound.
It makes a horrible, sad, when it hits the ground and it doesn't move anymore, and you think to yourself, like, man, once upon a time that was a basketball and now it's just a lump on the ground and it's never gonna move again.
That's what this match is.
Let's watch it! Woohoo!
Alright, so starting off strong with Iron Giant.
I love seeing Breloop for the first time.
I also love seeing Breloop for the first time. This definitely isn't the third time we've seen Breloop come out.
Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties, ignore that.
Never heard of her.
Okay, so, IDM doesn't have any ghosts, so I guess you can just facade forever.
Yep. IDM going for Setup City right now, barely living due to the combination of grassy terrain and reflect.
Yeah, that one turn of grassy terrain healing actually put it out of range of that next facade, so it's quite funny.
Yep, huge crit.
Massive crit. Actually puts us in range of taking damage from something if he switches out immediately. But not Woody's prerogative. He's not even clicking a grass move. I'm kind of interested into why, I don't know.
Yeah, especially since, it would have been boosted in grassy terrain there.
I would give money to know what the Woody set is on this Breloom, because it hasn't clicked Spore or like a fighting move or a grass move like ever.
I think it's just Facade.
Just Facade, nothing else. Yeah.
Just Facade.
Anyway, we talked over it there, but IDM does put up a Misty Terrain which catches a Thunder Wave, prevents it from activating. Very clever. As you may have recalled from last week, Cabral had a similar issue where he got frozen for 10 turns and then crit right after by Woody. And so IDM does not even want to try and play that game.
Yep. I do like the Swords Dance on the final turn of Reflect, just to try and get that little bit of chip in.
Yep.
Just to get as much damage as you can. Unfortunately, it's still not enough, but and just like that, it's like nothing ever happened.
Yep. You can be forgiven for thinking Misty Terrain boosts the power of fairy moves, but it doesn't actually do that.
Could you imagine a world in which it did?
It would be a little better. I mean, there's no Misty Terrain setters except Weezing in this game, so it wouldn't be that much better.
True.
It's also very funny. IDM here opts not to set up Misty Terrain again, and I guess low rolls a Draining Kiss that he would expect to kill. So this thing did have one turn where it could have been paralyzed or frozen, but such a thing did not happen.
Yep.
And really, from here, it's just the slow march to the grave.
Yep, more Draining Kiss.
If this thing was acrobatics, it could have killed on a crit, but also, if it was acrobatics, it could have come in sooner and clinched a kill when it was at like 40 or 60 or whatever.
Yeah. No, IDM looked at Woody and just inserted that one fucking JPEG of those two dudes fiercely making out.
Yeah, I mean, this was a foregone conclusion, frankly. I mean, I hate being mean about it, but, like, come on. Yeah. I think if you ran a betting pool on this and you were like, odds to winning Woody to IDM, it would be like 1 to 100. It would just be, not gonna happen.
This is literally like sending a fucking babykin to fight a fighter jet.
So yeah, sorry Woody. It's IDM. It's fine to lose to IDM. We've all done it. But man, let's bounce back next week, buddy.
Yep, you got this.
You have got this. Okay, hey, match number 4. Maybe something a little more interesting to watch. We have got Mats of the Treasure Town Togetics versus Aurora of the Hoensbroek Haunters. Aurora cruising right now, doing pretty well in the season. Obviously, by week 5, no one's exactly a lock for playoffs, but Aurora looking very good. Mats, however, is muscling for that spot against now Jason and Milo and Cabral. So it's very competitive, and Mass is going to need to find an upset somewhere if he wants to make the run.
And honestly, if there's an upset to make, like getting upset against Aurora is a pretty good, thing to have under your belt.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Looking at the team, I mean, Aurora, this time no Don Dozo, so you can actually opt to set up a little bit. So let's face it, if you're going up against Aurora, you're not going to bring him on that can set up, because
not really.
why would you ever do that to yourself?
I will say, what is interesting about this is you may see the funny little rock man, Knacklestack, is making its debut appearance here, and it actually is a great pick into Aurora. It does so well into Dondozo specifically. Salt Cure, obviously, a huge problem for bulky waters, forces a covert cloak, bare minimum, or just kind of invalidates them defensively altogether if they don't have one.
Yeah.
So, and I think Aurora recognized that, no Dondozo, I guess there's not that much that would set up in a way that would meaningfully be stuffed by Dondozo, given that it's not like, it's especially bulky, but not in the way that it's physically bulky,
Yeah, and I don't know how we show off the Terras. I have forgotten in the videos,
the first turn I can...
Okay, I was going to say that this Knacklestack is running Terra Ghost, so body presses will be invalidated. Earthquakes, at the very least, won't be super effective, and because of its ability, Ghost-type moves, while, yes, they will still hurt, they're not going to be as bad as you'd think.
It halves the damage, which is doubled by it being super effective, so it's effectively like taking just a normal type hit. The only weakness it retains as Terra Ghost is Dark, which, Iron Treads is a pretty prolific knockoff, and obviously you've got, foul plays or dark pulses out of Spiritomb. I think Iron Valiant gets some dark coverage, so
yeah,
there's certainly options to deal with it, but I think Terra Ghost Knacklestack is actually very threatening, even without Dondozo.
Yeah. I will say also, in the case of Knacklestack, you don't want to be staying in on a knockoff anyways, because you want to keep the Evilite.
Oh yeah, for sure. So,
yeah.
Nothing really else to say about that. I mean, as soon as Valiant is out of play, which is a big if, Dragapult does do really well into this team. Enamorous can be very threatening into Iron Valiant. Muck can be very threatening into, Hydrapple. Rotom can be very annoying for Iron Treads to deal with. I actually think that Mass might be advantaged in this, just from Team Preview.
Yeah, no, looking at Team Preview, Mass definitely has the advantage. For Dragapult, I guess something you do need to be aware of is Assault Vest Hydrapple, but even then, it's not exactly going to love a Draco.
It's honestly not even going to love a U-turn.
That too. But at the end of the day, I mean, Muck can do it. Enamorous also incredible. I think Enamorous is actually the strongest here. Going into Aurora's team, you just need to get rid of Treads.
Yeah, because she's got 3 fairy weaknesses, and only one of those can Terra. And she's only got 1 resist in Iron Treads, which still, you know, if it's like a contrary Enamorous with superpower, still doesn't really want to be in on that.
Yeah.
So, I would say that the ball is in Mass's court, but Aurora is too good of a player for you to let your guard down. So, winnable, let's see if you can pull it off.
Yep.
And then just the strong, immediate knackle stack start. And then Aurora...
Does she know, chat?
Does she know?
Does she know? She does not.
She does not know. Somebody who has not played Gen 9 OU.
Does not know the pain of Garganical. I do think going for the Protect there was a huge mistake. At that point, there's no real reason to click it.
It's never going to stay in, yeah.
Yeah. Even if it does stay in, I mean, like, Foul Play isn't going to do that much against this thing, I imagine.
Yeah, because it's not really hitting physically very hard. It's going to be full into bulk.
Yeah. I do like the knockoff, getting rid of the AV. Quite nice.
Yep. And then, as mentioned before, you know, Rotom Wash can come in on this thing pretty reliably, especially if it hasn't set up anything. Hydrapple doesn't really care about Rotom at all. And Aurora, this is what's funny. Aurora doubles out expecting Mass to switch, but instead Mass just goes for the Thunder Wave. So then Aurora's like, okay, I'll just go right back into Hydrapple. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know why you don't see this coming and click Volt Switch. I also don't know why you Thunder Wave this thing. Like, it does not care about being slow.
The thing is, yeah, now this thing doesn't do a good job of checking treads because it's at 24%, and that's not even including rocks damage, which he can still spin with Morpeko. And I mean, it's a good spinner because it can pester Spiritomb decently well. But, you know,
yeah.
Mass did kind of bungle his Rotom there a little bit, but still in the game, it's 6-6, you know, 14 turns deep, it's just all about positioning still. And he is getting important chip here.
He is. But I will say, I think this is kind of the start of what I think is the big problem, which is he just lets things get way too low.
Yeah. Like, why do that? Why protect there when you can Terra and recover? Why switch there when you can Terra and recover?
Yep.
You know, Aurora just keeps pressing body press. It's really not that hard to just Terra Ghost, you know?
I do like the switch, because I don't know if you can kill Pinterton from full, but again, like, dude, it's so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Protect there. It outplays Sucker Punch. It also wastes a turn of Electric Terrain. Here, he tries to double outplay the Sucker Punch, which wouldn't have killed. You should have just gotten damage on this if you were going to stay in at all.
Yeah.
And then after... She already revealed Sucker Punch, and he still feeds it to her.
It's just, yeah, questionable. This thing now gets to just come out for free.
Yep. And if Knackle Stack was at full and came in safely, it actually could kind of check this. At least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he still doesn't Terra, so the close combat kills. You know, Aurora didn't even need to do that. She has Shadow Sneak, but, like...
And then the play rough miss just solidifies it, unfortunately.
Again, a moment of Aurora misplaying twice in a row, because she revealed Shadow Sneak here, which would have also killed Enamorous at that range of +2. But that play rough missing actually could definitely cost Mass the game. Because even despite all of those misplays, a Specs Dragapult still caused huge problems for this team.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a free win from there, but it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, maybe you can afford to miss that play rough if you played your other pieces better, but, like, let's be real here. Missing that play rough, you know, Aurora also misplayed enough turns that that play rough would have swung the match hard into Mass's favor. I don't know if she could have come back from that. And it was just simply not allowed to happen. And Mass got robbed. I mean, that's just the long and short of it.
Yep. Nothing like a little highway robbery.
Yep.
Love to see it.
Highway robbery. I don't know. It's sad. I feel for Mass. That really sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard not to feel super cheated when you know, actually build a pretty good team and just have it stolen from you on some luck. You know, 9 out of 10 games, bad kills.
Yeah. I will say, like, while it does hurt, and like it definitely would have been a very different game, I do think something on that note, he did let his team get really chipped down and worn down at that point.
Yeah, he did, for sure.
Like, obviously, you know, like, yes, you can turn it around, but like you're still on such a back foot still.
Yeah.
So it's just something to be aware of.
But it's like, you know, Aurora's team was chipped too. You know, Spiritomb was in range at 84. You know, Hydrapple, if it was AV, could have lived, you know, a hit from like Shadow Ball, but like I don't think it would have lived Specs Draco. You know, no Valiant means you don't even have to worry about a Fairy type, and Treads had its AV knocked and it was at 67. So again, I really do think that Dragapult was lined up to win if he didn't just totally throw for no reason at the end. Like, it wasn't a hard guarantee, but I'm pretty sure it does just win that from there.
I'm actually so curious. It does live a Draco.
What, Hydrapple?
It lives on 3%.
Lives on 3?
Yep.
Sheesh. Well, you know, all he needs to do is get it chipped. You know, again, like I'm saying, like, Dragapult is still positioned to potentially do well. You know, that's not including, like, more Pico. You know, that's not including, like, I don't know, Rotom.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more Pico come out a little bit sooner, just so that way, like, rocks weren't as big of a thing.
Yeah.
But again, like in the grand scheme of things, like it's just, you know, letting too many things get too low too quick.
Yeah. Just really unfortunate. Mask could have played it tighter, but still didn't deserve to lose, at least not that way.
Yeah.
So
it should have been different.
Very, very sad. Well, that leaves only one thing left for you and me to do, which is to read the Week 5 standings. Would you like to take the top 4?
I would. Let me full screen this so I can see it better. Alright, so, top 4, we've got Brussels Espeons at 5-0 with a diff of 17. Maryland Manectrics 4-1 with a diff of 14. Hoensbroek Hunters 4-1 with 10. And the Hartford Honchkrows at 2-3 with a -2.
Bringing it up right behind, by only a difference of 1 differential, is in 5th place, the Slinging Aegislashers, coached by Cabral at a 2-3 -3. In 6th, we've got the Treasure Town Togetics, coached by Mass at a 2-3 -10. And then in 7th, we have Milo of the Canadian Cottonees at a 1-4 -1. So still a very good differential. That is the best 1-4 diff I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And last, we've got Woody of the Schaumburg Salamences at an 0-5 -25. So,
I mean,
this 4th spot, man, has been ridiculous. It's really, really hard to keep holding on to it.
Yeah, it is. At this point, it is a competition for who comes in 4th. You know, IDM, Claire, Aurora, they have solidified their spot in playoffs at this point.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, like they've got good differential, like Aurora with the worst diff of them all here, but like 10 is still good.
Yeah.
10 is not bad at all. Like you have to royally fuck up to not making the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I would say at this point you're kind of just crossing your fingers, hoping that IDM drops to somebody so that maybe you can snipe the bye. But aside from that, I mean, if you look, you know, ignore IDM out of the picture, he's hard guaranteed in. You know, yeah. Aurora and Claire, the worst they can do is 4-3. The best that Jason, Cabral, and Mask could do is 4-3. So then it's just a differential game. And again, like, that could change, but not, you know, like, for example, okay, let's say Claire got like back-to-back 6-0'd. That brings her to a 4-3 +2. You know, Cabral can totally just 2 normal wins get ahead of that. Now, that would obviously be predicated on Claire getting back-to-back 6-0'd, which is unlikely, but, you know, one of her remaining matches is IDM. So, like, not out of the question that something like that could happen.
Yeah.
So, it's scary and all, but not realistically are we going to see Claire or Aurora fall out. And in fact, depending on the remaining matches, it may even be literally impossible.
Yeah.
And Milo, again, still not out, because despite, obviously, you know, we're talking about the 2-3s matching up against the 4-1s, there is still a chance for the 2 and 3s to totally bust her out, and for Milo to just snipe. One good win is going to put him in like 5th place.
Yeah.
I mean, one bad win is going to put him in 5th place. Literally. Yeah. So you're just one away, and next week is Woody. So Milo getting back in the saddle maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Violet. I mean, the story of Violet is that 4th spot.
Yep. Yeah, no, top 3 is like pretty safe, but I'm very interested to see who manages to snipe that 4th spot in the very end. Because honestly, like, just about it is literally anyone's game at this point. Well, almost anyone's game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's 7 of these people look so competitive right now. Yeah, I'm still a Milo believer, but it is getting really hard without connecting another big win.
The copium tank is running low.
Yeah. But hey, going into week 6, the big match to look forward to here, like one of the earth-shatteringly important matches, is Mass versus Cabral.
Yeah. And I'm very excited to see how that one plays out.
Likewise. But hey, that's a week 6 match. This is a week 5 recap. If you want to get caught up on Teal or Scarlet, you can check out those videos by going to this YouTube channel and, I don't know, clicking around, asking your mother. I'm not sure.
Yeah. You can ask your dad if he's around, but, we all know that story.
Yeah. Teal's popping. Check out Teal. Scarlet. Whatever.
It's alright.
Whatever. Who cares? Not me.
Hey, that low field lantern guy is kind of handsome.
He's doing pretty good. He's cute.
Yeah. He's a little cutie.
Alright, thank you for joining us. Check out the companion videos. Wash behind your ears. And don't forget to ring that bell and protest.
I'm the low field lanterns. I recap so you don't have to.
And you're watching Disney Channel.